housing market has been one of the biggest mysteries in 2020. While everything else looks like it's taken a toll, we have industries that are getting absolutely crushed. We have people that are still losing their jobs at record pace. Well, the housing market has been one of the most certain things that we can depend on, at least in this day and age, that has yet to see any type of dents in it that are really alarming. But check this out. According to Mortgage Bankers Association, there has been an increase in the amount of people that have now taken on forbearance, bringing up the total to 2.7 million homeowners that are now in some type of forbearance plan. Now, if you're not familiar with the term forbearance or how it works, simply put, especially because of what's happened with this pandemic and the amount of jobs that Americans have lost this year alone, well, in the CARES Act, they decided to add some type of assistance in there for people that were falling behind on their mortgage payments. And we call that forbearance. And the way that it works, again, according to what we saw with the CARES Act, it's, well, let's say you somehow lost your job, or maybe you lost some hours at your job and you went from working 40 hours to working 35 hours. You could pretty much call your mortgage lender, your bank, whoever you have your loan with, and you would just tell them, hey, look, I no longer am employed, or maybe I had some type of loss of income. But here's the interesting part. It doesn't require any type of proof. It just requires you to either give them a call, send them an email, or maybe write them in a letter. Now, here's where things get interesting, because remember what that new piece of research says. It says 5.48% of Americans are now in forbearance, which is roughly around 3 million Americans. Now, keep in mind, there are 3 types of forbearances that people can fall within. So this is something that we really have to pay close attention to. Here's the first type of forbearance that we need to focus on, because if this type of mortgage forbearance is the one that the majority of the 3 million homeowners are getting, then come March 2021, when this program expires, then there's really not going to be anything to worry about. And here's what that means. Let's say that you fell behind on your mortgage payments for 2, maybe 3 months. You called your bank and you say, hey, look, there's no way I'm going to be able to catch up with these payments. I want to go ahead and put, again, my mortgage payments in the forbearance program, whatever they're offering. And again, this is bank by bank. This is case by case. So this isn't necessarily a one-size-fits-all situation, which really what makes things a bit more interesting when talking about the entire real estate market as a whole. So the mortgage company says, you know what, we're feeling generous. This is what we're going to do. We are going to go ahead and tack on those mortgage payments that you missed at the end of the mortgage. So let's say if you had 15 years left on the mortgage, you now have 16 years left on the mortgage, which in a scenario like this ends up working much better for people, because what ends up happening is, let's say if you fall behind 6 months and your rent is, let's say, or your mortgage is $2,000, that's $12,000 that you will need to come up with at the end of that forbearance program. But in this case, again, it's pushed back and it's spread through those 15 years that you had left on the mortgage, which is, again, fantastic considering the type of year that 2020 has been. That's the first type of forbearance. Here's the second type. The second type of forbearance that we need to focus on is a partial payment, or maybe some type of partial payment plan, meaning, again, working with that $12,000 figure. If you owed, let's say your bank $12,000 because you fell behind, at the end of that mortgage program, they would just go ahead and break up those $12,000 and kind of tack it on to whatever your mortgage or your monthly is. So let's say your monthly mortgage payment is $2,000. Again, at that $12,000, they would find a way to maybe break it up between 6 months or 1 year and just tack on those additional $500-600, however that math works out, onto your mortgage payments, which kind of increases your monthly mortgage a little bit more than what you would maybe be dealing with right now. Again, you can kind of see how this now starts to get a little bit uneasy, because you start to wonder, okay, how much more overhead can, let's say, a working American actually get, or these people that are in these forbearance programs? Now, here's the third type of forbearance, and this is the one that I would really be concerned about and really be watching, and this is the one that I'm actually considering. Now, there's no way of really finding out what type of mortgage forbearance programs people are on, so it's kind of a wait and see, which again makes things really interesting when you're watching the real estate market very closely, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest. And that's this. It's called a lump sum forbearance payment, and it's exactly what it sounds like. At the end of, let's say, those 6 months, if you owe those $12,000, well, guess what? On that 6th month, you're going to need to pay your monthly mortgage due that month, like it's a regular month, and then those $12,000 for the 6 months that maybe you were in forbearance on. Now that right there is something that I would really pay close attention to. Because here's what ended up happening at the beginning of the year, more toward the middle. In April, May, June, and parts of July, or really toward the end of July, we saw mortgage forbearances cases just skyrocket. And then we just started seeing them completely top off, meaning we started seeing people come out of the mortgage program, meaning whether they were able to make those payments again, or maybe they don't want to be a part of that program anymore, or maybe their lender told them, hey, look, you are in some type of lump sum payment, or perhaps they maybe just got their jobs back. Whatever those scenarios were, we saw, again, those mortgage forbearance numbers completely come down to where they are now, right around 5.48%, which is, again, a slight increase from what we saw last month. So now we're starting to see those numbers slowly start to climb back up again. So now we start to wonder, okay, which of these two could it be? Could it be that maybe people are trying to take advantage of these mortgage forbearance programs so maybe they can save more money, maybe they can use some of that money to invest somewhere else, maybe help out their own businesses if maybe they have some businesses, or maybe they're looking to get out of other debts that they have. Again, this is all assuming that they have some type of mortgage forbearance that's going to get attached to the end of the mortgage. And the second option is, well, maybe some people do actually need it now. Maybe they were under the impression that, well, maybe by August or maybe by September, I'll be getting my job back, or maybe by this time during the holidays, I'll maybe get back to work or start working the same hours that I was pre-pandemic. But that might not necessarily be the case. And again, it could be either one of those two. So I'm curious to know, which of those two do you think it is? Are you thinking that maybe it could be people have actually started to fall behind on their mortgage payments again? Or is it maybe that they're just trying to take advantage of the program, even though it's been out for pretty much the entire year, but they're taking advantage of the program so they can save more money and maybe use that money elsewhere in case of some other type of emergency coming up. Now, if you're wondering, okay, Irv, what should we expect next? Should we expect a total housing collapse? Should we expect for these forbearances for everything to just kind of go back to normal? I mean, what are some indicators that I have to keep an eye on? And here's the reality. No one actually knows what's going to happen until things really start to, I guess, unfold more than, again, the information that we have right now. Because if it were that easy, we'd all be walking around with a crystal ball, right? But I do have 4 possible scenarios that could maybe lead or kind of shape the outcomes for what we need to, again, keep an eye on and for what we should be expecting. Here's the first one. Government aid. I mean, as simple as that sounds, but we've already seen how, what I would say, lazy and how lack of working together with counterparts we've seen from Congress and just some of these, I guess, leaders, if you want to call them that. Government aid would be what I would call maybe some type of assistance for kicking maybe the can further down the road, if they maybe add some other type of mortgage forbearance program, or, and this is a big or, I'm going to go ahead and put a little asterisk next to this one, if somehow they maybe write some new legislation for the mortgage forbearance programs that are in place right now, and then they pretty much cancel everyone that's been in mortgage forbearance up to this point, in terms of it doesn't have to be what I would call a lump sum payment, and it doesn't have to be a partial payment. It's just completely kicked back until the end of the mortgage term. Now, that can go either way, because we've already seen some cases where people are starting to lose their homes because they were under the stipulation or under the thought that, well, I don't have to make this payment back, or maybe I don't have a lump sum. But again, this is case by case. So if you are in mortgage forbearance, be sure to pay close attention to that, because remember, you could have a lump sum payment due, you could have a partial payment due, or it could be kicked back at the end of the mortgage term. Here's the second option. The second option is, or the second scenario is, well, we go back to normal and people didn't actually need these mortgage forbearances. And well, it turns out that people were actually able to make their payments on time, and the majority of the mortgage forbearances were either those partial payments or they were kicked back for the end of the term. That would be, again, best case scenario. Not necessarily saying that that may be it. On the other side of that, we could see, instead of 3 million Americans having those mortgage forbearances, we could see only maybe 100 of those cases, maybe 200 of those cases actually go into foreclosure. Again, it's still a little too soon to tell. The fourth and final scenario that we could actually end up seeing is a total market Meltdown, and that's exactly what it sounds like, meaning the majority of the people that are in forbearance right now, and as those numbers continue to go up, again, through the end of 2020, going into 2021, and if you're watching this in 2021, then we would have most likely made an updated video to this, but for the numbers that we have right now that they're just continuing to climb, that means that we are going to see quite a bit of people losing their homes. I wouldn't expect this, I would say, drastic of a scenario, because I personally do think that there may be some type of government assistance, maybe some type of government aid. If it doesn't come directly from Congress, then it could come maybe from the states or from local policies that, again, are having their own type of stimulus assistance, or maybe some type of mortgage payment assistance. I've seen that here in my own county, here in Orange County in Orlando, Florida. So I would say that that right there is asterisk next to that worst case scenario. But let's assume that it does happen. Well, we would have from March, when that program actually expires. By the time the foreclosure process actually begins, you're looking at summer of 2021, and foreclosures can take anywhere from 6 months to up to even 2 years for them to actually finalize. So I wouldn't expect such an influx of homes to hit the market all at once. You'll maybe see a kind of a trickle down effect. But nonetheless, if for some way, somehow, if you're, let's say, in a specific area that does have an influx of foreclosures, that could have a big impact on home values. If you are in an area that has an influx of, let's say, homes that just hit the market all of a sudden, that could have a big impact on your neighborhood and the values of your home. And again, this is going to depend whether you live in LA, or it's going to depend if you live in the middle of Wisconsin, or if you live in sunny Orange County, Orlando, Florida. So if you enjoy real estate content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because we aim to have at least 1 to 2 real estate update videos each and every single week, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time we have content like this dropping each and every single week. And if you like what we have going on over here, you'll absolutely love what we have going on over on our second channel, the Insight with Irv Show. And I also want to thank our sponsors over at Amazon's Audible, where they made it super easy and convenient for you to enjoy a free month, as well as enjoy a free book of your choice by hitting the link down in the description. Also in the description, you can find the link to our amazing YouTube course that shows you how to build your YouTube channel from 0 to 1,000 subscribers, and shows you how to monetize it both on the platform and off of the platform as well. You can enjoy that down below with its coupon code for $100 off. Make sure to sign up today and enjoy those video modules. Once again, my name is Irvin Pena, and I appreciate you watching this video. Until next time, everyone, we'll see ya.